Chatterbox.
You're listening to Nick Prince and SUEL on Chatterbox UK.
Never quit, no matter how tough the road. Jesus never gave up, Jesus never quit to lift the sins from the world. Jesus never tied down, Jesus never quit. Jesus rose from the dead. The tomb was empty, but he filled our hearts with the Holy Spirit. Jesus never tapped out, Jesus never quit. Now on Chatterbox UK, we're just lucky enough to welcome for the first time John Henry Harvey. John, welcome. How are you, sir?
Hello, John.
I'm doing very, very, very well, Nick and Sue. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, it's
welcome.
great. We love your songs, and it's great to meet you at last as well. Let's work right back to the beginning. Every singer-songwriter, there's something, as they're growing up, of music. Either their parents were listening to, or they were into, whether it be gospel, whether it be rock and roll, whether it be whatever. So, as a kid, what was being played in your home? What were your parents into? What can you remember hearing?
Well, it wasn't so much my parents as it was my big brother.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to my big brother, Dave Harvey's 45 RPMs, turning me on to doo-wop and early rock and roll, the Flamingos, Dion and the Belmonts, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, the Del Vikings, and so many more. And then rock and roll. Bill Haley and the Comets, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, uh, then the Blues, Lead Belly, Mamie Smith, Bo Diddley, Buddy Guy, and then the British invasion hit. It totally blew me away. The Beatles, Billy J. Kramer, and the Dakotas with his songs Bad to Me, Do You Want to Know a Secret? I'll Be on My Way, I'll Keep You Satisfied, Little Children. And by then I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I owe a lot of this to the British invasion with bands such as The Who, The Kinks, Pink Floyd, The Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, King Crimson, The Nice, Atomic Rooster, and so many more. And the American rockers, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, The Beach Boys, Creedence Clearwater Revival, The Velvet Underground, Booker T and the MGs, and Motown with Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, the Jackson Five, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Supremes, the Temptations, Martha and the Vandellas, the Marvelettes, and on, going into funk with the Funkadelics, Prince, Parliament, the Ohio Players, Brothers Johnson, on and on. So I had so much influence. And I started playing drums at 10. My mom wanted to keep me off the streets of Philadelphia. She didn't want me to get in trouble. Little did she know. And then I got into guitar when I was 15 because there was this girl I wanted to meet, and her favorite song was Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan. So I learned how to play that song, and one night, bloody fingers and all, I learned how to play it, and I just haven't looked back since.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. So your mum, she, to keep you off the streets, she bought you a drum kit, yeah?
Yeah.
There's not many parents buy their kids a drum kit. They try not to. So you had a great mum there.
Oh, I had a great mom, but my neighbors hated it for the first like year. And then all of a sudden they started knocking on the door. Hey, he's getting pretty good. We'll talk to you again.
I like it. I like it. Before we go too far, now you got a great story you shared with me, and that was about Bill Haley and the Comets concert. Tell us a story and how you got in to see them.
Well, I didn't know they were playing, and I found out they were playing, and it was real close to where I was at. And I didn't have any money with me that night. So me and my buddy, we found a part of the fence that we could climb over and get in between the barbed wire at the top. So I'm climbing up the fence. I get in between the barbed wire and I slipped coming down. And you can still barely see it, but it's right here.
You can.
And,
You can.
and it's still here. And his name is still Bill. My scar's name is Bill.
I like that.
Very good. Very good. Let's go back. You pick up this guitar. You're serenading this girl and whatever. You did pretty well covering Bob Dylan. So where did we go to next? How did you build up your repertoire and your inspiration in starting to write your own stuff? When was that?
The inspiration went back to when I was 4 years old, listening to my brother's 45s. And I'd be sitting in the bathtub while he was playing the 45s in his bedroom. And I could always make out the music, but I couldn't always make out what the words were. So I just started making my own up. And it just stuck.
It works.
And I would learn music. I would take different chords and put them together. And I would always be very careful not to sound like somebody else, but I wanted to keep the genre the same. And I love so many different types of music because my first band I was in, I was 10 years old playing the drums, or 11 years old. And we were called the Tombstones. And the first song we learned was by the Beatles called I'm a Loser. And it just went on from there. From there, I went to a jazz band. From there, I went to a rockabilly band. From there, I went to a blues band, to a rock and roll band. So in every band I was in, since I was good at writing lyrics, it was always my job to write the songs.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I ended up with a very large uh, selection of styles
Mm.
song, which I still use today.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely quite a crossover in your music, but it works. It sounds good. It sounds really good.
Thank
Obviously, be talking about a couple of your songs in greater detail before the end of our chat. Let's talk about gigging and doing concerts and stuff. I mean, obviously, you guys went out and you done some sort of live stuff. So, how did that materialise? Was that school or college, or was that sort of a bit later?
Well, that was it started pretty quick and it kept going. I mean, a list of some of the bands I've opened for the Del Vikings,
Mhm.
um, Frank Mancuso and the Imaginations. Uh, I ended up being a drummer for them for one night, which was really cool. We did that song, Bada Bada Boom Da. I've opened for Sha Na Na, Bob Dylan and Joan Armour trading. They invited me to
Oh,
open for them. Um,
wow.
Jay and the Techniques, we shared an entire night with them. Those were the guys who did Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie,
Mm.
uh, the Drifters, the Marvelettes, uh, so many more. I've done many gigs with Slither and my good friend Mike Woods at the VA hospital. We've done a lot of charity work.
That's good.
Play for the veterans. We play for hospices.
That's true.
That's really my passion.
That's cool. That's really cool. So what happens? I mean, does Bob Dylan just ring you up one night and says, "John Henry, can you drum for us tomorrow?" Is that how it works? Or how does that come about? Because that's quite you're so cool when you're saying it. It's all like just walking for duck's back or something. But it's a pretty big achievement that, and Dionne Warwick and these other people you mentioned. So how did that occur? One minute you're talking about. Strumming away to some girl when you're a teenager, a Bob Dylan song, and then you're drumming for him. So you've got to tell us. I know everyone at home would be interested in how that materialised.
Well, I managed a restaurant
Hmm.
called Pearlie's in Richmond. I managed them for 5 years, and they're right down the street from the Coliseum. So all the artists would come in to Pearlie's, and I got to be friends with a lot of them. See, a lot of them, they were from out of town, like Delbert McClinton's band, and they wanted me to line up some girls that they could meet and
Okay.
bring to the show.
Hmm.
Okay, well, then that's how that all started. Uh, and when they found out that I could play and I could sing, when they could use an opening act, they would have me come in and do it.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Talk about the right place at the right time. That works both ways. So it works for them as well. But yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, yeah, classic oldies with Nick and Sue. Ooh, yeah, Chatterbox. Ooh, with Nick and Sue. Give me some chatter.
When did you get around to recording your first songs?
I got around to recording. It was pretty much the same thing. I made a friend there at the restaurant, and he owned a recording studio. And I told him that I was a songwriter, and I'd always wanted to hear my songs recorded.
Mm.
So he invited me down there to the studio after hours. So there I was at 1 o'clock in the morning showing him my songs. And he was a guitar player. So the next thing I know, we had started a band called Rocktopus.
Mhm. I like
And
that. Love that.
we were doing all my original songs. And that's when I became totally hooked. Of course, that was back in the day when you had 2-inch tape. Uh, Everything was analog.
Mm.
If you made a mistake, you had to do everything over. but that's how I cut my chops, and that's how I became pretty good at it, and always did my homework
Mm.
before I went into the studio. Where nowadays, they can take one little segment of something and move it all over the place.
I know.
So you can make a mistake and it's no big deal, but back then it was a real big deal. But that got me totally hooked on studios. We would bring our sleeping bags to the studio, spend the whole night there because we didn't have much money, so we had to go in there when there was nobody booked,
Mhm.
and that's how that all started.
Well, I mean, I've become an absolute expert producer with now you can take bits out on the computer and drop it in and everything else. But I do remember the days of the reel to reel, and sometimes when it hadn't gone quite so well, when when the reels had all these bits of paper sticking out of them and all these white bits stick. Sometimes it can be quite a lot. That's when you haven't got your money's worth out of the studio. I dare say you must have had, you say you've done your homework, but there must have been some, you know exactly what I'm talking about though, don't you? With all these
Yeah.
bits hanging out.
I do. I can remember more than once climbing inside a studio reel to reel and smacking on it to get it to work.
Did that help at all?
Oh yeah, it helped. It was a great sound effect.
I'm sure it was. Okay, so have we, as John Henry Harvey sort of, you know, done some tours? Have you not? I mean, how big have they been? Have they been within your state, or have you gone around the country, or to what extent have you toured?
I've traveled quite a bit around the country. Um, I was in the army, and I went to Berlin
Mhm.
for several years, and I cut my teeth a lot over there 'cause I was listening to a lot of British music over there, like Atomic Rooster and King
Mm.
Crimson. Um, and it's a very different audience over there. If they love you, they love you. But if they don't like you, you're in trouble. So
Yeah.
I learned how to get pretty good, and I played at a lot of bars there. Uh, I played for some of the big wigs in the military, playing music. Like they would come to open up a mess hall, dedicate the mess hall, and they would ask me to perform. I love playing for people that have never heard me before.
Okay. Okay.
Like,
And-
I went down to Florida for a weekend and I came back 3 years later.
That's good. You obviously went down quite well there.
Yeah, it went over real well. Of course, at that time it was all secular.
Mhm.
I hadn't gotten into my Christian music yet, which is all I do now. I mean, the message is Christian. The music is pretty much secular
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
of it. So I decided that I wasn't going to change my music. I was just going to change my message. And
So
it seems to have worked out for me pretty good.
Is there a certain venue or place you would love to sing and perform at?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Madison Square Garden,
Oh,
uh, amphitheaters. There's a big one in London where the Philharmonic plays.
Royal Albert
Albert Hall.
Hall.
Say that together.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
You're right, Royal Albert Hall. That's always been a dream
amazing. It's a
to play
beautiful.
there. I got goosebumps just thinking about that.
It's a beautiful
You're
venue.
that good, John. I could see that happen.
Be just,
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. That is so kind. So kind of you to say that.
have you ever been to the UK?
No.
Well, nor did the other great man Elvis, but you still have a chance to make it over here. So yeah, something we might be able to talk about at some point. But
Oh,
yeah,
I would love to. My wife and I were talking tonight about getting passports for the UK
it's cool.
That'd be
and
massive.
coming over there and trying to, because she's my administrator now since she retired.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So she's the boss. You just do the singing, yeah?
Oh yeah, she's the boss.
I like it. I just wanted to make a comment about you said about the Germans and if you go down, you either go down really well or you don't. But I've had some artists. In fact, some have actually had big hits across Europe. They've been really well known, and they start. There could be a big venue even, and they start performing. And sometimes you don't think you're going down very well at all because they're so quiet. But when you get to the end of
Yeah,
that first set, they go mad. All this jumping up
yeah,
and down and cheering. And you even get an encore in the first set. And yeah, but they're very quiet and it's almost solemn to start with, and then something happens. And
Right.
thank goodness, you know. Was that how you found it? Or, you know,
Well, I've had that happen to me, that exact same thing. Here,
oh,
I had a job doing a solo gig for a motorcycle club
mhm,
here, and the place was packed.
okay.
And I thought I was kicking it. I thought I was killing it. Song was over, and you could hear a pin drop. I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't going so good. So I did the next song and the same thing, and the next song, the same thing. And after my set was over, they all went nuts and told me how much they loved it and thanked me and thanked me and thanked me.
Well, maybe they were
Told
enjoying
me
it
how
so
good it
much
was.
they were listening to every last word, perhaps. I mean,
Yeah.
wow. But then you
But
go,
now in Germany,
you go,
what I witnessed was Elton John was an hour late for a show at the Coliseum in Berlin,
mhm.
and the crowd stayed. And when he came out on stage, they all pelted him with beer bottles
Oh,
and booed,
Oh,
and he had to leave the stage.
oh, okay.
It's like when I saw Jay Giles band, one of my favorite bands in the world. They opened up for Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but they didn't want to hear Jay Giles. They wanted to hear Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Oh,
and they booed him off the stage. And the Jay Giles band started cussing at the Germans, and the Germans did the same thing. They started throwing bottles.
well, I certainly wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be the front of a on stage with a venue full of peed off Germans. I wouldn't want it at all.
No, no, not especially if you're late.
Thank you. I love it. But yeah, I mean, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, J. Giles Band. I mean, yeah, J. Giles Band.
different different
Yeah,
types of music for
totally
sure.
different. I like both myself personally.
Yeah.
I would tend to favour Emerson, Lake and Palmer personally. There's that little bit more of a little
I
bit
would too.
class about it, perhaps we could say. And it's one of those few. They're those one of those few artists that uh, can cross over to lovers of classical music. Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Right.
Queen, and the other main one being probably Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh yeah.
Those three
Yeah.
cross over beautifully. You know, to classical music, to pop, to rock. Yeah, the three of
Right.
them. Yeah.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, they go to Goosebumps again. Every one of those bands you mentioned, I totally love.
is there anybody you would love to sing with?
Dead or alive?
No, who's yeah, dead or alive? Is there anybody you would love to do a song with?
Oh my heavens. I'd love to do a song with Paul McCartney. I'd love to do a song with Barbara Streisand, Emmylou Harris.
Got to tell you
Um,
something about Paul McCartney. He lives about 12 miles away from where we are. That's his main home. And I must have met him over 50 times. And
wow.
you know what? He actually does know me by name, but he doesn't know me through radio. It's incredible. It's been community stuff. I used to own the cinema in the next town for quite some years, and he would go there rather than go to the main one in Hastings. And he and Linda would just come in and queue with everyone. And number of times I've seen him in the Sainsbury's supermarkets at the top of town, and he'd just drive around in a Mini or a Land Rover or something like that. Now, people have accused him of being tight over the years, but let me tell you, in the town of Rye, the nearest town to where he lives, he not only saved the local hospital there when it's going to be cut out, he rebuilt it, and he's got this this fun thing going. And even when he's gone, there's enough money going to be going in to keep the hospital going year after year after year. And the
Nice.
rebuilt now. Yeah, he's built a theatre for the local school, and he is actually really well loved in the community. So
That's
people
great.
might be jealous and think he's, but he's not stingy at all. He's actually very generous in his community. Really,
That's what I've heard. And I
yeah,
admire that so
yeah,
much.
he really is. So,
I
yeah,
totally
great
love
guy
that.
all round. And he will walk around the street holding hands with his present wife. He will go to normal shops, and he does say he doesn't stop and talk, but he says hello to everyone he passes if they look at him.
Nice.
Yeah, which is nice. It is, you know.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid in school, I went to a Catholic school, and if you didn't pay attention, you were likely to get your knuckles smacked with a ruler. and I got my knuckles smacked with the ruler all the time because I would
Very
daydream
twisted.
of playing drums for the Beatles
Yeah,
or the Dakotas. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's all I thought about was that famous Mercy music, and it's an incredible thing.
Why do you take the hand of God's pretty little girl and holy matrimony for eternity? I do promise to love you forever and make Jesus the head of our happy home. I do promise to always listen to you with compassion and understanding. I do swear to make you the queen of my world, 'cause you'll always be God's pretty little girl. God's little girl, God's pretty little girl. You will always be God's pretty little girl. God's little girl, God's pretty little girl. You will always be God's pretty little girl. I do promise to be faithful and love you no matter what the circumstance, whether in sickness or health, richer or poorer, better or worse, happy or sad. I promise to always have a shoulder to cry on and a hand to hold, a heart as big as God's love, to be forgiving, and I promise never to hold a grudge or go to bed angry or wake up without telling you how much I do love you. I promise I will always love you, and I will always love Jesus. I will always ask Jesus to bless our most wonderful love forever and ever as I take the hand of God's pretty little girl.
Chatterbox. When the stars talk, they talk to Nick and Sue.
Let me ask you. You mentioned you went to a Catholic school and that, and obviously we're hearing the religious songs that you write and record now. What point? I mean, has religion always been in the background of it, or was there perhaps? I mean, I've not heard your earlier stuff. Was an element, was an influence of Christianity in the early songs, or was it something you came to later in years?
Yes and no. It's always been there because it's always been a big part of who I am. But I just loved rock and roll. That was in my heart too, just like Christianity was, until one night I was leaving band practice and I was driving down the road, and there was a vehicle in front of me that was driving real slow. So I had to slow down, and I was right on him because I wanted to get home. And I noticed in his windshield, his back windshield, there was a sticker, and the sticker said, "Jesus never tap."
Mm-hmm.
Now, tap, as you know, it's a technical slang word, if those two words go together, for I can't take the pain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Tap, and your opponent stops, and the referee stops the fight. Well, when I saw that, I became overwhelmed with the Holy Spirit, and I had to pull off to the side of the road. I was crying tears of joy because all of a sudden I understood all the mysteries that I'd never really put two and two together, like why Jesus was born, why he lived the life he did, why he persecuted, why he died, why he rose again. And it all just made so much sense. But 20 minutes later, I was able to compose myself and drive again. And I get back on the road, and I get home to my girlfriend, and I told her what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do? I go, I'm going to find a church. I go, I've got to get way deeper into this spirituality. I learned something tonight that I didn't know. And I did. And she started going to the church with me. And next thing I know, we're married. And I had this song that I'd played at the VA hospital for years. And it was just the music. It was a jam. It was a blues jam. It was the music to Jesus Never Tap. And I was inspired and led by the Holy Spirit. I give him credit for co-writing it with me for putting the lyrics to it. And the lyrics fit like a glove. So I took it to a studio in Oklahoma, and a man named Don Johnson, who was Emmylou Harris's world tour music, he loved it. He produced it for me, and that song has been my major song since I've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me hope. Blood from the man nailed to the cross for you and me. Take away the sins of the world. Jesus never tapped out. Jesus never quit. Never gave up. Jesus never quit. No matter how tough the road. Jesus never gave up. Jesus never quit. To lift the sins from the world. Jesus never tapped out. Jesus never quit. Jesus never tapped out. In his corner, I'm gonna shit. On the third day, the resurrection, Jesus rose from the dead. The tomb was empty, but he filled our hearts with the Holy Spirit. Jesus never tapped out. Jesus
I realized that I had to start doing more songs like that because it was important for me to get the message out to an audience that would relate to. So I had to use Christian lyrics to secular music. That's pretty much what happened, and I haven't turned back.
How do you feel when you hear that people in the UK have complained about the song and totally missed the point of it, although they're claiming to be Christians themselves, but they're missing the point of quite where it's going? I mean, bearing in mind it's not going to do you or the song any harm, but how did you initially feel when you heard that news?
I felt blessed because I felt like it was a teaching moment. Because I'm sure all these people are Christian.
Yeah,
That's
it.
it's a misunderstanding. I don't understand where the misunderstanding is. I'm assuming it's going to be in tapping out.
Yeah.
It must mean something different to some people. The fact that they are even thinking about it, to me, is a good, because they're thinking about God.
I like that.
Because I looked into it and yes, it does mean different things in different countries, but in nowhere is it bad at all. It's never anything bad, but I could say, they just had the blinkers on when they've heard it. I suppose, yeah. Well, but if we think about it in another way, they obviously are helping to get the message across,
Right.
in a sort of a roundabout way.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you feel blessed and you're not offended by it, but it does help. Yeah, blessed. It gives you a chance to get the message over more.
That's right. That's my goal, is to get the message out.
And whatever happens, there is more radio stations going to be picking it up regardless. At the number it's going to, some will be playing it. It's not going to not be played by any of them. Some will pick it up. Definitely. Got to. Oh dear. Now we got the Jesus Taps Out, which we're looking forward to how that's going to be doing, and I think that's going to be a mainstay song probably for the time of year in, year out. I'm actually predicting that. I actually think it's going to be
Thank you.
over here. I think it's going to be a regular. You know how you get songs that come back out this time of year every year? I think it's going to be one of those. I feel good about it,
I
do.
think people will change
you.
their mind once they've listened to this interview and John Henry's explained what the song's about. Jesus never tapped out.
But do you know, even if they don't think about the words or what it's
I
about,
had two images in my
it's
head.
a great sounding song.
Yes,
The
very good
crossover,
sounding.
it's not actually gospel. The crossover, that rock, and everything, it's brilliant. Some of them might not, the ones that don't think what Christmas is, they might not think what the song's about, but they're going to like the song regardless.
Because of how it's explained. Yeah.
I noticed we got another one we have played a few times. That's God's Pretty Little Girl. We played that a few times, John Henry.
Thank you. Those were my wedding vows.
Cool. That's nice. That's nice.
I like that.
Nice
I
story
played
there.
that for my wife when we were on the altar getting married, and the preacher looked at my wife to be, and after the song was over, and he said, "Try to top that."
Very good. I like it.
You can
I like
tell
it.
me
Of
tomorrow.
course, she did. She did top that.
You can tell me to mind my own business. How long have you been married?
Well, we've been legally married for 11 years.
Very good.
But we've been together for 25 years.
I like that. That is nice.
Let's mention Chris Spira and Space Angel Music, and of course it's through him that we ever got to know each other and got to know
Yes.
in the first
I'll
place.
tell you,
I
I
did
sent
make-
Chris. The first song I sent him was Jesus Never Tapped Out.
Good
I
job.
sent it to him. Well, let me back up a little bit. I feel like God spoke to me several days before I sent it. And he said, you need to stop playing secular and Christian music. Stick with just Christian music. And I learned a long time ago to listen to God when he talks. So I left the music scene that I was doing and stayed just on the Christian music. 2 days later, God told me to send this song to Chris Spear. I mean, he didn't actually come out and say the words, but I felt it in my heart because I'd kind of known who Chris was through social media. And so I sent it to him 5 minutes later. It wasn't 5 minutes. He said, I got to have that song. I got to have you. And that's how it all started. I mean, Chris Spear, Space Angel Music Company. He's my promoter. He's my friend. He's my brother. He's done more for my musical career than I or anyone else has been able to do in all of my decade in this business. Chris truly believes in all talented, dedicated music indies. Chris is the type of promoter that you can call at midnight with a musical concern, and he will answer the phone. He's dedicated to his indie artists 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, along with his team, such as Shirley Lansdowne of Lansdowne Country Music Promotions worldwide, countless radio stations and DJs, such as yourself, the great Nick Prince and Sue. And Chris Spear, he's a superstar in his own rights.
Yep.
Having many hit records. He wrote and recorded with The Living End the song I Need a Lot of Loving, which went to #1. He did The Turkey Stomp. He did I Was Born This Way, co-written with Bunny Jones, which changed everything. He's performed with Bobby Goldsboro, The Reflections, Iggy Pop, The Animals, The Beach Boys, Neil Diamond, The Times, Peaches and Herb, Jay and the Americans, and many, many more. And here he is having something to do with me. And I'm a nobody, you know? And he treats me like I'm a somebody, like I'm a star. And he has been so good for my confidence, my self-confidence, my self-esteem. And I can't imagine him not being in my life.
That's good.
No, he's a very good person.
It's been amazing, and he's introduced me to you folks, and
Yeah.
I am very blessed.
Bring it right up to date. You got a new release, which Space Angel Music are promoting at the moment. Tell us all about your new release, your new single.
Out of Control.
Yes, featuring the Forever.
Okay, Out of Control is a song that I originally wrote a while back, and I wanted to redo it. I heard it a little bit more upbeat, up-tempo, and I approached some very good friends of mine in the Forever Band with Lenny Holmes, Michael Woods, Kim Woods, Todd Mobley. Lenny Holmes played lead guitar on it, and at one time he was Michael Jackson's guitar player. He was Prince's guitar player. He's played with the Funkadelics, Living Colour, Parliament, P-Funk. I can't even begin to count all the people that he played with. Just quite a few. And so he played guitar on it. Michael Woods, my good friend of 40 years, who's done many shows with me, a lot of veteran hospital shows with me. He's an excellent drummer and a guitar player and a songwriter. Well, he played drums, guitar with me on it. His lovely wife, Kim Woods, backed me up on the vocals. She did a fantastic job. I love it. Todd Mobley played the bass, and then I sent it to Chris, and Chris laid down keyboards on it, and he did some post-production on it, helping to get it a little bit more radio friendly. And I love this song. I try not to listen to my stuff too much, but I find myself playing it quite a bit because it's just very catchy. And I love what it says. And basically what it says is I'm out of control. I fall down sometimes, you know. I'm not a perfect man. I fall down. I'm out of control. But I'm also out of control in love with God. And that's what the song is about. It's about being out of control and how we can be out of control yet still have the grace that God offers.
Ooh, yeah. Classic oldies with Nick and Sue. Ooh, yeah. Chatterbox. Ooh, with Nick and Sue. Give me some chatter.
What we do before we let any of our guests go, we do social media and let the listeners know. Well, obviously they're hearing your songs, but we let them know where they can find you on social media. Now, I know that John Henry Harvey has a presence on Facebook. I can see that here, just clicking on it now, and here we go. And yes, so that where. On Facebook, John Henry Harvey. Is that where listeners can message you or chat with you?
People can message me. I do have my YouTube video of Jesus Never Tapped Out on there, but all my music is available through DistroKid on all music platforms.
Cool. Okay. Brilliant stuff. So all music platforms. That's good. Okay. John Henry Harvey, what is next for you as we get into 2025? What's the first thing you'd like to got on that bucket list?
Keep on writing, keep on recording, keep on trying to reach people, keep showing my love, loving people. I don't care what people do. The church I go to, which is a United Nations church, their motto is love God, love people. Period.
So if we were to have a chat, an update in say 3 months' time, 6 months' time, or even this time next year, in a year's time, provided you've reached out to more people and things like this interview reach out to new people for you, would you be happy? You've achieved what you wanted to do?
Oh yeah, because I believe that's what God wants me to do, and that's all I want to do is what God wants me to do. A year from now, I'd like to be knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, I'm here."
Very good.
With the T-shirt that you're wearing.
No, when we open the door to him, we'd have the same T-shirts on. Don't worry. It's good. It's
Do you
good.
get many people when you're going out shopping or your private life? Do you wear that T-shirt when you're out?
Oh yeah, I wear my T-shirt. I wear my cross. I'm very proud.
Do people ask what the T-shirt's about?
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
And I tell them, and my response is always very good. It's always very, very good. I play Jesus Never Tapped Out in bars. And the response, when I first started doing it, I'm like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. They may not want me to come back, but it was just the opposite. And the message was good, but the music was really good. The music got them into it, and then the message took over.
That's great. No. Yes. Well, John Henry Harvey. It's been great meeting up with you at last. Great to chat at last.
It's very nice.
Absolutely.
Nice to put a picture to
Yeah.
the face, isn't it?
And I could say this. I think Sue would agree. We're looking forward to the next time already. There you go.
Oh, thank you. As am I.
Yeah, absolutely. So wishing you, your wife and your family, friends a happy Christmas. All the best for
Same to you.
2025 when we will be chatting, indeed. And fingers
Indeed.
crossed,
That's right.
this first Christmas for Jesus Never Taps Out in the UK, it's a big one. But I do know that's going to be going around the stations in a year's time, in 2 years. It will be. I just know it will.
It's very catchy.
It's going to start something.
Thank you
Well,
so much. Certainly appreciate everything that you have done for me, and you all have done quite a bit for me, and you make me feel very special.
Well, that's very kind.
You've done the important part, John Henry. You've done the song. You've sung the song.
That makes us quite humble, but also it's your talent and your beliefs that got you here in the first place.
Maybe so, but without you, nobody would know.
Okay, at this moment in time, you'd be talking to yourself, not us. But apart from that, but
So you are definitely the messenger, and I thank you.
bless
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Till next time, John Henry. It's been great, and thank you.
You take care, John Henry.
Great. Thank you.
Take care now. Bye bye. And here is the brand new release from John Henry Harvey. It's Out of Control by John Henry Harvey, featuring the Forever Band.
Well, here I am, take me as I am. I'm a rambling, backsliding kind of man. Jesus, I need you, nothing I can't do. When I let you take control of who I am, I need your touch, I need your grace, I need your love. I'm out of control. Well, here I am. I just need to stand. Just let you decide who I am. Take my sins away, your blood gives me grace. When I fall down, I'm facing your way. I need your touch, I need your grace, I need your love. I'm out
of control. I'll serve you till my days are through. Just use me anyway, I'm your man. I need your touch, I need your grace, I need your love. Out of control. Love with you, Jesus. Out of control. I need your touch. I need your grace. I need your love. I'm out of control.